All right, who am I? For those people that have never met me before, you're very lucky. But this is me, this is my history. So I was a trained elementary school teacher. I'm from New Zealand, if you can pick up the accent. I've been an English teacher in Japan since 1998. And for those that can read the kanji down the next line, I was actually a speech coach for the Eigo Benron Taikai, for junior high school Benron Taikai. I was a speech coach for the champion of that last year. So that's one of the career highlights, and I feel like I can just retire now. That's like the Everest. There's nothing better. I was just very fortunate to have a very, very talented student to work with, and she managed to win the whole damn thing. So I've also been a teacher trainer. British Hills, I started a teacher training course there for about 3-4 years, and worked with Kanda University, doing some teacher training stuff with them. I've published with Pearson, so I do teacher training with Pearson and in Japan and also in Asia, promoting their books and sharing ideas on teaching. Also, Loilo Note, I'm a Ninte teacher, which means an accredited teacher. And I've done some teacher training on how to use Loilo Note, which is educational software, which I'm very passionate about. And if you joined my previous session, you would realize that. Any questions about that, please ask after the show. I have a master's in education done way back, 20 years ago. Been a visiting researcher for them in Kanda and an author of English Language Booster. Please check that out on Amazon. And also teaching English to young learners for teacher training book. Okay, so yeah, I've been, pretty active in the teacher training, but most of the time I'm teaching. This is just what I do on the side, of course. And this is where I am. I'm in 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐲 Gakuen at the elementary school. This is in beautiful Fukushima, in the middle of Fukushima. And it's a private Catholic school, and I teach kindergarten through to grade 6 there. Sometimes alone and sometimes in team teaching. And yeah, I've been teaching mostly young learners, and by young learners I mean elementary through to grade 6, really. Sometimes I had to find it up to junior high school. But for me, it's pretty much that focus of the older kindergarten kids through to grade 6. So I've been teaching them off and on since about 2004. But as the main thing. And during that time, I developed one technique, which is the one I'm going to introduce to you today, which is called ActionSpeak. And I've chosen this photo for 2 reasons. First of all, that's my baby. That's my daughter when she was a baby, going back about 10 years now. ActionSpeak is, first of all, using gestures, and babies are always kind of interacting with the world using their hands and arms and legs, and we don't just interact when you think about communication just by talking and listening. We do a lot of body movement, and also through body movement there's a lot of muscle memory involved, and I'm going to talk about why that's important soon. Okay, so what is ActionSpeak? I've got the t-shirt, if you can see that. I've got the nice little branding thing there, if you like it. But what is it? Okay, so let's have a look. Okay. What is ActionSpeak? It's intentional pre-planned gestures done concurrently with speech. This is a boring explanation. We'll actually do it soon. Okay. It helps to convey meaning. It helps support retention of common phrases and questions. Supports phrasal syntax, and syntax means the order of a sentence, the order that you say something. Supports prosodic performance, which is kind of rhythm, intonation, and stress. Provides routine to kick off your class, and you can use it in whole class teaching or in one-on-one situations when you're giving recasting and rephrasing feedback. For those of you that I don't know what recasting and rephrasing is, that's just academic speak for recasting. Means that you're changing the order in which something is said. So the common one here in Japan is what do you like sushi, as opposed to what sushi do you like, and we always have to recast that into the correct order. Whereas rephrasing is changing the words which they choose. So you say, oh, what sushi do you like? And then you say, oh, wow, what animals do you like? And so you're suggesting alternatives or way to rephrase that using different words. So that's the difference between recasting and rephrasing. And most importantly, it's fun. Okay, so what is it? Well, the best way to do it is just to do it rather than sitting through boring slides on a Wednesday evening, and to get up and actually move and do it. And so what we're going to do is, if you can, you don't have to stand up, but if you can move around freely. So I saw a few of you were attached to headphones, so hopefully they've got long cords. So, and make yourself a little space. It's not like yoga. You don't need like 2 meters or anything. You just need to be able to see me, able to hear me, and able to follow what I'm doing. Sound good? Yep. Okay. What you have to do is just say and repeat what I'm doing. Okay, so it's gestures done concurrently with speech. So I'm going to say something and do something, and then it's your turn. So it's like a back and forth. All right. We're going to do it a few phrases, and we're going to go back to the beginning and do it again. Okay, so this is how I start my classes, and I'll start this with kindergarten kids right from the get-go. So this is what we're going to do. Okay, are you ready? Say hello.
Hello.
Okay, and on your side, if you can say hello as well, and just do the gesture. Okay, say hello. Say hello. Alice, can you turn on your mic so I can get some feedback for
absolutely.
One person? Helps with the rhythm.
Sure.
Say hello.
Hello.
Say hello.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Eat breakfast.
Eat breakfast.
Yum, yum.
Yum, yum.
Thank you, Mum.
Thank you, Mum.
Brush my teeth.
Brush my teeth.
Brush, brush.
Brush, brush.
Shiny, shiny.
Shiny, shiny.
Go to school.
Go to school.
Good morning, teacher.
Good morning, teacher.
Study, study.
Study, study.
Japanese.
Japanese.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Denki desu ka?
Denki desu ka?
Denki desu ka?
Ah, denki desu ka?
Denki desu.
Denki
All
desu.
right. All right. That always catches them out. Okay. I'm going to lose my iPad here. All right, here we go. Okay. Next. Study, study.
Study, study.
English.
English.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you?
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Say no.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
All right. Study, study.
Study, study.
Math.
Math.
1 plus 1.
1 plus 1.
Equals?
Equals?
2.
2.
All right, so just do the sum for me. 2 plus 2 equals?
4.
3 plus 2?
5.
4 plus 1?
5.
5 plus 3?
8.
5 plus 5?
10.
Good job.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
Eat lunch.
Eat lunch.
Yum, yum.
Yum, yum.
Thank you, Mum.
Thank you, Mum.
Bento.
Bento.
Eat rice.
Eat rice.
Eat broccoli.
Eat broccoli.
Eat egg.
Eat egg.
Eat fish.
Eat fish.
Yum, yum.
Yum, yum.
Go back home.
Go back home.
I'm home.
I'm home.
Watch TV.
Watch TV.
お母さんと一緒。
お母さんと一緒。
おじいさんと一緒。
おじいさんと一緒。
おばあちゃんと一緒。
おばあちゃんと一緒。
Okay. Eat dinner.
Eat dinner.
Yum, yum.
Yum, yum.
Thank you, Dad.
Thank you, Dad.
Take a bath.
Take a bath.
Wash, wash.
Wash, wash.
Wash my hair.
Wash my hair.
Wash my tummy.
Wash my tummy.
Wash my arms.
Wash my arms.
Wash my legs.
Wash my legs.
Brush my teeth.
Brush my teeth.
brush, brush,
brush, brush,
shiny, shiny,
shiny, shiny,
go to bed,
go to bed,
good night.
good night.
Okay, and that is one ActionSpeak story. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So, all
Great
right.
job, Alex.
Thank you. I'm ready
Alex
for
did
this
very
to be our
well.
most viewed YouTube video.
Yeah. I can see you like being the top of the class in the kindergarten class there, Alex. It was good. Thanks for doing that, mate. That was a big
No
help.
worries.
Very difficult to do that in a
No, glad to help.
Yeah, and thankfully that only happens in a classroom. So the features of it. So now that you can see that kind of what is ActionSpeak, the main features of it is that it's a story, and the story that I just did there was a student's day, and the benefit of story. I'm just going to jump up to is sequence and consequence, and that comes from Reisman in 2004. Most of my references are really old because I'm really old. So it's just a consequence of my age and my interest. But it doesn't mean, these still holds true over 20 or a millennia anyway, story. So it's a sequence. So what the sequence does, as opposed to what a story does, as opposed to just using flashcards of, like a student's day, which you probably do in grade 6, they do the days, the actions they do during the days, their daily routines. So what the benefit of a story is that the students can predict what comes next, and so there's kind of like a routine, and then what I'll do is, because they can predict, what I'll do is eventually I'll just do the gestures, and then they will say the phrases, and that usually takes for my first graders probably about 4 or 5 times. They can get it done okay, as long as they're doing it chorally. Don't expect a kid to do it by themselves. But in a class, after the 4th or 5th time, I can just be quiet and just do the gestures, and they'll produce the language. Because it's that story structure, they know what's coming next. So that's the benefit of stories. This consequence is that there's humor and imagination and links to their own experiences. What I've just done now is is kind of like the basic bare bones one. And what I'll add to that is like eat breakfast, and then I'll get my kids to ask, may I have, I'll say like toast, and then I'll put may I have egg, please? May I have strawberries, please? May I have ice cream, please? And then you get this really weird mix of things, which the students are using their imagination, and they're getting some fun out of that from using English to create something crazy. So so there's potential to build on the story and to add to more elements to the story throughout the day. You can, for example, take a bath and wash my hair. Ouch, ouch. Oh, it's, you can just say stuff like that, or the water's too hot, or you can just build on the story throughout the day. And that basically brings me to the genesis of this ActionSpeak and how it happened. Was that there was a song which was say hello, hello, say hello, hello, say hello, hello, my friends. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. How are you, my friends? Which some of you may know, or if not, it's like 20 years old. So what I did is I turned up to kindergarten one day and I forgot the CD, because I'm a very good teacher like that. And because I forgot the CD, I was like, oh, I'll just do it without the music. And then I just did it without the music, and I realized 2 things. One is that I can't sing well, and if I don't have to sing, that's much better. And number 2 is that without the music, I was free to elaborate and to interact with the kids and not be confined to that time and that rhythm and that space of what songs, they have, what songs provide and what you can do and not do with them. Songs are great, but this is just, it gives you the freedom to do more and interact more without music in the background. But you can still keep the rhythm part of it. You can see through those actions that it helps convey meaning. Okay, take a bath, for example. It helps supports the rhythm, the intonation, and the stress if you're doing chunks. And what it isn't is it's not new. You know, I don't think anybody can come up with you want to say there's original ideas out there, but original ideas are built on the shoulders of giants, and this is no different. Probably it could be original in the way that it's been mixed up, incorporating rhythm and gestures and story and humor and all that. So, and that being boxed that way, you could call it original. But people have been doing gestures and for a long time, and you'll know about maybe TPR story versions, which seemed a little bit forced because they tried to make a gesture for every word in the story, whereas this is just making a gesture for chunks. So it's kind of a good balance between what's the limit of using gestures to convey meaning, as opposed to give meaning to every word in the story. Like, you know, one day a giant walked in the woods, you know, that was TPR story. And it seemed a little bit forced, and probably one of the reasons that I haven't seen it around a lot recently. It isn't a comprehensive system to teach everything. I mean, it's just one other thing you can put in your activity basket and repertoire, which will help. You know, there's one method out of many, and songs and repeating vocabulary and doing all that other stuff. This is just one other way. It's not the audio-lingual method, and for those that are familiar with that, that came around in the 1970s when tape recorders came into the classroom, and you could listen and repeat. It's not that, because the kids will be producing the language with gestures as prompts. So it kind of starts that way, but it moves beyond that. Okay. And what else it's made up of course, is gestures. And this is a quote, you can read that. Okay. So gestures provide building blocks that can be used to construct a language. And obviously, if you're looking at sign language, that's kind of like the next step. This is just a little bit part of the spectrum. I'm not doing sign language or trying to make a sign language kind of curriculum or syllabus out of it. It's just trying to get the meaning across. Although you could perhaps add elements of sign language into it. There are three types of gestures. There's emblemic, iconic, and pantomimic. Emblemic are ones which convey the meaning of what you're trying to say, like a bird is, this gesture here is emblemic. It reflects that's me waving my arms, what you're trying to say. Iconic are gestures which are known within a particular culture. And so there's a shared meaning. So for example, it's a good one, but you wouldn't do that in Arabian countries because it means something different. So it's culturally specific. And pantomimic are ones which are more kind of storied, and they have a sequence to them. Okay, so, you know, you're kind of doing things like that. Okay, and so, you know, showing that you're moving through space and time a bit. Okay, and the last thing is that using gestures hooks into that. What was a buzzword about 10 years ago was multimodality, the audio, visual, and motor skills. And there is a very small amount of literature that says it's stronger impact than pictures, but that needs a little bit more empirical research for me to say that with confidence. I can say it through direct observation of my own classroom, but it needs more empirical studies. And it does reduce the cognitive load. So the kids aren't just focusing on listening and repeating, they're actually moving. Okay. And you'll know from your own experience in your own lives that motor memory is a very strong memory. I mean, you can just probably, if you recall some of the dances you might have done when you're in elementary school, and if they put the music on and you had your kind of like triggers for that, you could probably work it out. But if you recall what the teacher was saying at that time, you probably have no memory of that. So the motor memory is very, very strong. And our muscle memory is very, very strong and very, very lasting. So even with the kids, I've been doing this for 20 years. And if I meet, even last week, I met one of the kids I was teaching about 20 years ago. And immediately I did, how are you? I'm fine. And he remembered it. And it's kind of one of those things that if you do it, it's a thing that you'll be introducing yourself with to your students in 20 years. And say, oh, I remember we did this, yes. And it's a nice little kind of hook in for that. So, they won't remember much else from my lessons, but they might remember that. I'm sure they'll remember more from yours. Okay. We've talked about story. Next, I want to talk about chunking. I differentiated this from the TPR stories because it's not stories, it's little chunks of words. And there's a little bit of evidence out there that suggests that items that are used together are fused together. There's different words for chunking. There's multi-word units, formulaic sequences, standardized phrases, lexical phrases. My preference is chunking because it's easier to say. Okay, so fluent speakers do not create new sentences by choosing one word at a time, but rather by using strings of words that typically occur together. And I know this is probably more for a JSL speaker like myself. Japanese is a second language. I learned Japanese from picking up phrases. So it's kind of, whereas if you're in a EFL, it is like, okay, we'll put this word, then put this word, and put this word, and then we'll put it together with, I want to eat chocolate. I want to, and it's kind of like building block stuff, as opposed to starting with eat chocolate, yum, yum. I want to eat chocolate, oh, yum, yum, so it's starting off with chunks as opposed to vocabulary items, and then just using those chunks with different modals and things later on. This is very much communicative language teaching speak here, Alice Simpson, Valken Maynard. For L2 learners, frequency of input determines fluency. So by doing this, repeating this activity, which takes around about the full thing takes about 4 to 5 minutes, as you just saw, and I can extend it out with interaction with the kids. It takes about 5-6 minutes probably at the beginning of each class. After 6 or 7 times, they're ready to go, right? So you can just get them to speak. Once the students have mastered it, then you can move on to a new story. And I'll suggest some new story ideas for you later. Okay, so to recap, what it is it's a combination of gestures, story, and chunking, okay, and also using rhythm. And how I do it is on the first day, this would be with first graders. I do over half the phrases on the first day. With my kindergarten kids, I do a few less. I'll maybe do 4 or 5 on the first day, and then build it up to about 6 or 7 day 2, and then try and get through to the whole story within about 4 weeks. Okay, and what I call this is front loading. So giving them lots at the beginning, and then repeating it. Now, with front loading, the benefit is that they get to repeat it often, which reflects on that the frequency of input helps with their fluency. The downside is that you can kind of tend to skip over some of the minute things like pronunciation that you need to do. So especially with the younger learners. So you need to get a good balance of when you're doing it, of how much time you have, and also trying to focus on some of those minute kind of things. For example, the first most difficult word the kids will come across is breakfast, eat breakfast, because it has that fit sound in it. And the kids have never pronounced that before, most of them anyway. And so I'll just stop and I will show them. I'll go breakfast. Okay, so make sure you get that. So doing that modeling of how to do that pronunciation right from the beginning, and then stopping each time to make sure they're doing it right and getting them to show it to me. So sometimes you need to go with the flow, and sometimes you need to hone in on some particular pronunciation. And once you've done that well once, every time you come up that fit sound again in the future, it's done. That most of the kids are biting their lower lip. Okay. So you front load it. You focus on some of the pronunciation that needs to be done, which is the new kind of sounds for them. For those that are familiar with phonics, just a wee number to throw at you. There are roughly, depending on who you read, about 44 sounds in the English phonetic alphabet and English phonemes. Whereas in Japanese, there's about 21 or 22 sounds. And that's not the number of hiragana or katakana. Kakiku keiko. So it's k-a-ka-ku-i, k-e. Okay, k-u, k-o. So it's breaking that k and o out. And that in total is about 21, 22 sounds. Okay. So with learning English, there's about 20 odd new sounds that they have to master. And that means that they have mouth gymnastics going on. So they need to be able to mimic what you're saying, and you need to model that. All right. So that's part of what I do as well while doing this. Then I repeat it every lesson and introduce a new phrase. And then, as I talked about before, I just, after a few times, I just conduct, and then the students will go, and then I give them help when they need it. Then you can get the students to do it in pairs. Once they've really got it, they're competent, you can get a student to lead it. And then you can add modals. For example, I can study, study, study. I can study, study, study. May I study? Eat lunch. May I eat lunch? Or I want to eat lunch. I have to eat lunch. But I want to eat lunch, but I have to study. Okay. So you can kind of, add your modals and get them to do some more communicative stuff there. Then trying to get some more production stuff happening. They can use those phrases and role plays if you want to make it more of a syllabus into a syllabus. And then introduce a new ActionSpeak story, and some of the examples of that could be going to the doctors. And so I'm going to stop there. Any questions?
When you say gradually do the gestures, how gradually are you doing? Like
How gradually?
Yeah, one phrase every class that you're changing into just gestures, or half of them, or what?
I would
Gauge it by.
Yeah, to be honest, gradually is probably not the best word there. I usually just do it suddenly is a better word.
Okay.
When I feel that they've kind of mastered it, I feel like they're repeating things pretty quickly, then I'll just not say anything, I'll just,
Okay.
and they will just naturally do it without even saying it, and they'll just naturally do it.
Okay.
I'll say, okay, I'll just say, look, I'm not going to say anything. You just follow my gestures and you say it. And you usually get a feeling for that. And it's usually, about the 5th or 6th time, depending on who you're working with and the ages, but it's usually around about that. If they can master it all by the 5th or 6th time, that's pretty good going. You usually a little bit of prompting during that. So that's probably what gradually means.
Okay.
It's just have a feel for it. If you see them struggling a little bit, then go back and mimic it and say, okay, next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's probably what that means. Yeah.
Would a lot of these gestures work for older students as well?
I've done this with drunk teachers before in New Zealand. And we did it. I was actually teaching them Japanese. We did the Japanese version. I was like, "Konnichiwa, genki desu ka? Genki desu." Okay, and but that doesn't answer your question. Does it work with older students? Probably not as well. But it depends on because they're shy and they don't want to look stupid in front of their friends. And I don't need to tell you that. So it can be harder with the junior high school kids. But if it's a class which is pretty comfortable with each other and they're up for a little bit of fun, or they feel that kind of energy is there, go for it. And because it's something that they do together. You're not singling anybody out. They do it chorally. I have done it with junior high school students, but it can be hit and miss, it's one of those serious classes. So that's why I put young learners or young at heart in the title. So I've done it. I've done it.
Senior high school.
Yeah. What are they like? Would you think they'd do it?
They might, because I already use some gestures with them whenever I'm teaching like certain phrases and things like that. So they do from time to time do it, but getting them to use hand gestures when doing like speeches and such is kind of impossible.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of a different kind of hand gesture to speeches and stuff. It's kind of the focus is on the gestures is to mitigate the learning of the language. So, I mean, it's kind of looking at the story, maybe, you know, if you're looking at high school students, like I say, they've got to be able to be comfortable to get up and move around in front of their friends. If they can do that, that's fine. But you're probably looking at maybe a more mature kind of storyline. You know what I mean? For something that the high school students might be doing, like going to the movies or going on a first date and trying to make it kind of humorous and going off and say, "Ooh, I'm shy," you know. So here you are. Here's some flowers. You have allergies. Chew. You know, just doing stuff like that too, which is probably a bit more maybe within their realm of experience. So yeah.
I want to say on that note that I teach at a senior high combined school. I feel like my first year junior high schools would do this. I think once they hit second year, they'd be like way too self-conscious. But conversely, I feel like if I did what you said about like going on a date or something with like my high school kids, I feel like they'd come right back around to doing stuff like that. They seem like they'd engage with that kind of thing that's more relevant to their lives. And
as long as you're putting some humor in there,
exactly,
and just kind of putting a twist on things, is really important. And you know, even us as adults, we like a little bit of, you know, craziness and absurdity and stuff like that. So as long as you're including that kind of in your story as well, that'll be fine. You know,
sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say on that note, how advanced do you think that the topics can get doing something like this?
My immediate answer would be, don't try to remove it too far from the curriculum, because I mean, there is order of language learning and stuff like that. That's, you know, based on you do this first and putting him and her and stuff in there, and then be able to use that. So stuff that they can relate to in their own lives. And I guess like it's probably akin to like how advanced would a debate question be for your 5th and 6th graders? You know, do you want them to be doing like environmental studies, or do you want them to be doing stuff which is in their own kind of realm of experience? And just as long as you stick it to within their realm of experience, that's fine. But is one thing, but that's more content. The other thing is language, right? So keeping it at an EFL level. So think more graded reader rather than picture books, which are aimed for native speakers. Well, I don't want to use that word, but speakers whose first language is English. All right.
Got it.
Yep.
You have also a question in the chat, by the way, from Jendel, who says, I'm interested in how you develop gestures. You must have a wide collection of gestures and keep expanding on it. Any difficulties, though?
Yes, good question. Yes, because there's a limit. If the gestures look too similar, there's a limit to what you can do. And that's just the nature of the beast. And even though there's a limit, you can still do a lot within that, would be my answer. So yeah, making sure that your gestures are distinct enough from each other. But with that said, the story and the context carries the story along. So if you have it using a different story and you've got similar gestures, the kids are more involved with the story than saying, hey, that gesture's the same as the one we did a couple of weeks ago. You know, it's like that. The other point is there's kind of like there's two methods, if you like, to this. And the one I've just shown you is story-based. And the second one is kind of like phrasal-based. Okay, so it's doing things like hang on, I'm going to say this. What food do you like? All right. So what food do you like? All right. So when you're teaching those questions to the kids, like in the past, you might have seen when teachers are doing 𝐀𝐠𝐲𝐵𝐵, like their demonstration lessons, right? They used to put those little cardboard things on the blackboard with the magnets on the back. Anyone seen that? Or is that just I'm just getting too old? Maybe people don't do that anymore. Well, they're doing something similar with projecting that on the board. And so I've always found that really cumbersome. So using gestures to support the syntax, the order of the sentence. So when I started this, it was like, our bugbear is, what do you like, animal? You know, so what animal do you like? All right. So And then using those gestures to support the kids being able to organize stuff in their heads is probably the very technical way to say that. So that's called phrasal gestures. And so I want you to imagine that you had to teach, what time do you get up? And then just make a gesture sequence for that now.
Right. Having to do so. Okay, so kind of like this, like, what time do you get up? Something like that. I do a lot of gestures with our practice, particularly for 3rd and 4th grade. Do a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, typically I typically like, do you?
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that. Do you? Because
oh, good.
So you goes. Yeah, I like that.
Do you? Yeah, because it's kind of like I said, it supports intonation. So do you?
Yeah.
You know, and that's whatever you like, as long as it's consistent across it. There's no hard and fast rules for how you do it.
Right.
And like I say, like, people are doing gestures out there already because it's simple and it puts things together. Obviously, like, you know, what spurred this on was that question about the limits to what you can do. And I think there are, you know, there's definitely, when sentences get too complicated, like, which do you prefer, A or B? You know, it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of getting a little bit too complicated. But usually by that stage anyway, students are reading. So this is kind of more pre-readers or students who are just starting to read, so that if you were to write it on the whiteboard, they couldn't really read what you're writing. And so it's more for the pre-readers than the readers. Reading will obviously help with the structure for the higher grade kids anyway. Any other questions?
There was one I think we may have missed from, I think it's Regina or Regine in the chat. Is this applicable to all ages from elementary?
Like, I'm teaching a private school and I would do this up to grade 3. And I do this with my grade 5 and 6 kids just occasionally, because I did it with them when they were younger, right? And so I just do it with them occasionally just for that kind of Natsukashi kind of thing. But definitely not. It's for the younger years, and then, you know, you can use it with the older years if they're up for it. And I'll leave it up to you and your professional judgment. Yeah. You know, definitely the younger years, if you look at it, it's quite a bit of drilling, isn't it? It's like, it's say and repeat. And the kids who are of a younger age are more patient with that than the kids at an older age. So, you know, it's definitely got a shelf life, but, you know, you can extend it. Hey, yeah. Try it, see what happens. It's like, you'll soon find out. Right. Okay, so how to access all this stuff that I've just talked to you about? Okay, so first of all, there is a website, and it's this. It's got a video of me doing it and explaining it, and pretty much a summary of all the slides today as well as a script for the say hello, how are you, I'm fine. You can either follow that script or come up with something yourself, or do 50-50. You can use that as a base and then just work off it. Do you want to do one more? Different storylines, going to the doctors, and we'll end with that. All righty, are you ready?
Oh yeah.
Let's do this. Okay.
Ready and raring.
Say hello.
Say hello.
Say hello.
Say
hello.
How are you?
How
are you?
I'm sick.
I'm sick.
I have a fever.
I have a fever.
Let's check.
Let's check.
38.
38.
38.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Doctor.
Doctor.
I have a fever.
I have a fever.
Please come.
Please come.
Okay.
Okay.
Put on my hat.
Put on my hat.
Put on my jacket.
Put on my jacket.
Put on my gloves.
Put on my gloves.
Put on my neggy.
Put on my neggy.
for those of you that know that old wives' tale, if I can still say that, go to the doctors.
Go to the doctors.
Wait. 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Wait. 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
Wait. 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
Wait. Mr. Lankshear, please come to room 1. Or whatever you want to say, okay? All right. Okay, doctor.
Doctor.
I have a fever.
I have a fever.
Let's check.
Let's check.
And usually at this stage, one of the kids will go beep, 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 beep. All right. So there you all do that. Beep, 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 beep. 39.
39.
You have a fever.
You have a fever.
I know. Open your mouth.
Open your mouth.
No. Open your mouth.
Open your mouth.
No. Open your mouth now.
Open your mouth now.
Okay. It's red.
It's red.
I know. Here's some medicine. Okay, and you can either expand on that and say, oh, please take three after lunch, 3 after dinner, 3 before bed. Okay, you can if you want. Okay, go back home. Take off my hat.
Take off my hat.
Take off my neggy.
Take off my neggy.
Eat my neggy.
Eat my neggy.
Take off my jacket.
Take off my jacket.
Take off my gloves.
Take off my gloves.
I just realized I did that in the wrong order, but whatever. Okay. Take my medicine.
Take my medicine.
Go to bed.
Go to bed.
Good night.
Good night.
Achoo.
Achoo.
Cough, cough.
Cough, cough.
Let's check.
Let's check.
Beep, 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 beep. Thank you. Okay. 37.
37.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Go to bed.
Go to bed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's check.
Let's check. Beep, 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 beep.
Beep, beep, beep.
36.
36.
Yay.
Yay.
Run, run.
Run.
Jump, jump.
Jump.
Swim, swim.
Swim.
Achoo.
Achoo.
Oh no.
Oh no.
All right, that's it. Okay, so that's to go to the doctors.
Good.
So,
That was good.
That's great.
yeah, obviously I couldn't do that during COVID. That had like one of the effects of COVID was not doing coughs in the classroom for a few years. But yeah. But it's good fun. Like obviously you can see there's a lot of language which you'd normally be breaking up into different units. Like now we're doing clothes, and now we're doing body parts, and now we're doing with sicknesses and things. Whereas with a story, you can put that all together and it makes more sense. Yeah, one of the things I didn't put there, but my background is in narrative research. So I have a very strong passion for the power of story. And one of my beliefs is that story is a great way to package language. And I don't need to tell teachers that. But this gives it one more way to tell a story in a classroom. And while the kids are moving. And finally, I'll leave with a quote that I heard from somebody who I can't name, I can't remember. But kids get more tired from sitting than moving.
So I personally have been spending a lot of time investing in stories, like the popular stories, the old 𝐀𝐻𝐸𝐸, Three Little Pigs, things like that. I also teach kindergarten and younger elementary grades, but I see this as more functional language dialogue based, which is also, I've always sort of been torn between which one should I be focusing my time and energy on.
Yeah.
So I really like how you've brought the actions into the functional language as well.
Right.
But yes, I'm sure you've also spent time doing stories like that as well. And what do you see as the reactions or the development in terms of the students learning between the two?
Okay, between like just using picture books and stuff in the classroom or graded readers versus this? Is this what you? Is that your question?
Picture books and stories. I do a lot of puppets and things like that. And make stories come alive. And then we go through the stories and do the study clues together, and then they create their own story, substituting words and such.
Okay, development and learning. I've got two answers for that. The first answer is that what I see is that it's a tough one to measure, but it's kind of the feeling that I get from it is that students believe they can be successful in English because they're speaking lots of English from the get-go. And even though they're doing that chorally, they're in a situation where they feel like they can be successful in English and say lots within a short period of time. Is, you know, this has not been empirically studied at all. You know, I would dearly love some PhD student or somebody to come along and do it, but it's just from my own anecdotal, it does, the kids leave happy and feeling like they can say something. So there's that kind of motivation aspect to it. As far as long-term goes, it's kind of there, but I don't think it's like a magic bullet over the long term unless you're doing it, sustain it over 2 or 3 years. You know, it needs to be complemented with other stuff as well, and it's very hard to measure which was the most effective. You know, out of all those things, what was the thing that got the kids to get interested in English and to get confident in it? Because this is just one part of it. So difficult for me to answer. That, you know, I know that I'm not giving you a good answer. The only thing I'd say is I'm glad I'm doing it, and I would never stop doing it. And there's other choices for other ways to spend that 5 minutes in the class, and you got to say, hey, is this the best way to spend 5 minutes in the class, because it builds up over time? Yeah, you know, for me, in my own experience here, this is what we do. You know, and the kids do learn to. I'm thinking of my 3rd graders at the moment. They've learned to putting phrases together and adding stuff on doesn't seem like a big hurdle for them, because, you know, I want to study, I have to study, and they can produce that language pretty quickly because they're not following like units in a book, which kind of get them, oh, that's kind of like grade 3, and we don't do that to grade 4, and you can't put those two together. It doesn't follow that. So kind of, like I say, it's front loading them with that kind of putting words together in their heads and using gestures to support that, so that I think that helps later on. Again, this is just my own observations of stuff over time, and yeah. Okay, that's a long answer to your question. Does it answer it?
Thank you. Yeah, I think your students are lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.